Welcome to Christina Speaks. I'm excited to get to know Destinee Woodris a little better and learn about some of the exciting things that she's involved in. So we will get started. Destinee, thank you for coming on. I'm
Thanks for
excited
inviting
to
me.
excited to learn more about the groups you've been in. I know we've had some conversations. We met through Pollinate Women's Weekend, which we'll talk more about later with a later guest as we get closer to that October date. But we found that we had a lot more in common than just wanting to put on that event. And so I thought, you know what, it would be a fun conversation to have Destinee on. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Destinee, you are new to Des Moines. So, what's been your impression of this city so far?
Oh my goodness. Things happening fast in terms of who all you can get connected with. Getting connected, it feels seamless here. I found it funny. I was talking to my grandmother on the phone last week, and I said, "Hey, Gran, there was the traffic going on the expressway." She goes, "How far did it set you back?" 5 minutes. There's an uproar. So just getting acclimated to how far everything is has been a treat for me. Coming from Indianapolis, most recently came out of Ellensburg, Washington, which is teeny tiny, great but teeny tiny. So Des Moines so far has been, once I thawed out from the polar vortex.
Right.
Got here December 14th. Once I thawed out, I was all right. But I love it. I love that you can get connected here and you can get involved. If there's something you want to do, you can go find it. And if you can't find it, you can do it.
So, what was the first thing that you found to get involved in, or did you meet someone that got you involved? How did you find the first thing that you got involved with here in Des Moines?
Oh my goodness. So I'm a doctoral student online through Arizona State University, and I'm getting my doctorate in education. And I said, you know what? I've got to get out of this apartment. I'm going to find a cafe somewhere, and I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to be good. So I went to Ritual Cafe. It was my first time there. I said, wow, I love the vibes. I went in there, ordered my drink, sat down, went to go wash my hands, met Catherine Dickel with Pollinate. And she's like, oh, hello. And I'm like, who is this person talking to me in the bathroom at this very moment? And she goes, oh, I'm just coming in to wash my hands. They have really good drinks, but I left mine sticky. How are you? I was like, what? How are you in the bathroom? We're doing this right now?
Right.
But it summed up how I feel about Des Moines. You just never know about those chance encounters. And that's when she started talking to me about how she does her business coaching and all the things, and getting involved with Pollinate and how it's her baby and all the things, and just having those real conversations. Mm-hmm. So I got to meet with her one-on-one in Ritual. And that spearheaded a lot. I went to that meeting, met you.
Right, yeah. We met in Boone, Iowa. Left Des Moines to meet in Boone, Iowa.
Yes. The location for Pollinate, which you all will be talking about later. But that solidified everything for me. That was, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. If it's one of those chance encounters, it meant something so much more to me than I don't think she would even understand. Mm-hmm. in terms of how to get connected here. And not even just here, but how do you set right wherever you are? How do you find those connections? And I thought that was pretty powerful. And that's how it started the ripple effect of what all I got involved in.
Well, and Catherine's a wonderful person to be one of the first people that you meet, because she knows everyone. She's from here. She's, such an advocate of Des Moines, started her business here, her family here. So that was, not, I believe that people cross your path for a reason, and that was definitely not by chance. So that's...
No, she showed me all around. We got in the car. I got in her car the first time.
Now that is trust. Wow.
Trust. And so she took me, she goes, oh, here's Ray Gunn. Let's stop in and meet the owner. So we stopped in. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this store? And she took me everywhere, it felt like. Went down Ingersoll. Oh, I know this business owner. Oh, I know that business owner. Stopped by to meet her business partner. Went to her office. Awesome. And then she drove me back to Ritual Cafe.
Wow, that's really cool. I remember her posting about meeting you, and she was so excited. She's like, oh, I have someone, I'm going to bring her into the team for Pollinate. But she didn't say, and I kidnapped her in my car and gave her to her.
She did. She really did. She kidnapped me, and I'm still here.
Well, good. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, me too.
So I remember when we met in Boone, we met at the site for Pollinate, which the campsite, and you mentioned there, well, we got to talking about making it a more diverse opportunity, and both of us agreed that we didn't want to be the only women of color at the campsite for the weekend, and so we were going to work together to bring more diversity. And you said at that point that you had just met with some folks up at One Iowa and you had some ideas. So how did you get connected with One Iowa?
Oh my goodness. So I got connected with Buffy Jameson at One Iowa. I was researching. I was taking a break from researching, and I saw this survey for queer communities of color. If you're a person of color and you identify in the LGBTQ community, please take this survey. So I took the survey and I said, oh my gosh, I got to connect with these folks. Reached out to Sonia Reyes because that's who was listed as the contact. And then Sonia connected me with Buffy and Gabby, who were both the co-chairs for the Queer Communities of Color Coalition. But yeah, so it stemmed on around. But I, before that, applied to the 2019 LGBTQ Leadership Institute with One Iowa.
Oh, so before you knew about One Iowa, you had applied for the leadership program? Or was it the other way around?
Well, yeah, I found out about the leadership program, but I hadn't met anybody just yet.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I get in. And then I was speaking with Buffy, and that's pretty much how I got started.
And it's a pretty big class. How many did you say?
25. There's a cohort of 25, all from different backgrounds. We've got a couple lawyers, both named Emily. We have a hairstylist. We have people who are organizers.
And do they come just from Des Moines or all over the state?
All over. So we've got folks in Davenport. I think there's some from Iowa City, Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids. There's some here, of course. But it's throughout the state.
Oh, that's amazing. I knew it was pretty big, but I wasn't sure if the program itself was statewide. And then, so do you meet in Des Moines, or do you get to travel to all these different parts of the state?
We meet in Des Moines.
Okay.
So, those have to make travel arrangements who aren't from here, but it's good to see everybody.
Yeah. All right. And so, can you tell me a little bit more? I know it's a fairly new program. It hasn't been around like very many years. Right. But how often do they meet? What are some of the topics? And what got you interested in applying?
Okay. So I'll go with what got me interested in applying, then work my way on to the middle.
Perfect.
So I was interested in applying because I said, you know what? You got to get out of this apartment. Real story. And if I can do that and still learn a bit more about the LGBTQ community, that's a win. Mm-hmm. Another win would be, what does the LGBTQ movement mean to Des Moines? Mm-hmm. What does it look like in Iowa? And I'm curious. I'm a learner. And so I love to explore. I love to get, into things and figure out how the inner workings work. And that's why I applied. I feel like I'm a part of, and I want to see who some more of the community is. And so I applied in late March, early April. And that was that. But we meet twice a month. So the next meeting we actually have is on the 23rd.
Okay.
So twice a month usually, except for September or August, I believe. But it's going up until October. So the weekend of October 10 should be the last meeting, and maybe on the 24th we'll have our class project. So we're split up in 3 groups, and we're going to be working on something of our choosing.
Like a community service project?
A community service project. They left everything open. There are no parameters. So they said, okay, use what you've learned here. And go forth with it. But before we can do that, we're still in these classes, and we're learning about implicit bias, how to advocate in the workplace for LGBTQ equity, and we read up on the laws. So what are some relevant LGBTQ laws? Daniel came in and gave us some newspapers and said, okay, here's what was written in 1968, and we got to share. It's just one example of an activity, but we've had some really hands-on facilitators. So Max, Buffy, Daniel was there. I think that Keenan will be speaking next time, and someone else. It's someone who's stepping in as the interim director right now for One Iowa.
Oh yeah, because Daniel, does he go back to Proteus or something?
Yes. Her name, I can see her face. It'll come to me. But
just shout it out when it comes to you.
Right?
like you're in church.
Thank you. And she'll be talking about fundraising this next time. So I'm really excited to hear her speak.
Oh, I kind of want to sneak in on that one. Oh, but the 23rd I won't be in town. But all right, well, I'll send you in my place. No,
I'll be there anyway.
That's always the hardest thing. I've been involved in nonprofit on both the leadership side and the board side, and oh my gosh, it's just the bane of their existence.
Yes.
You know, just the fundraising. So I'd be curious to know if they have any creative ideas, because sometimes it feels like you just do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. Well, you expect bigger results, and it doesn't always happen. But
right.
Oh, well, that sounds awesome. That sounds very much like you're building a statewide community there, because all those hours together while you're learning and doing things hands-on, and then you're going to have to work together outside of the groups to do your projects. So you're like really just jumping in there, and it sounds like you're setting roots here in Des Moines within the first 6 months of being here.
That's what I do. I move quick. I take my time and figure out, I scope a place out before we get here. But really what got me to Des Moines, Leslie and I, we said, you know what, we want to move closer. I said, okay, let's move. What does closer mean? Are we moving closer to family? How are we going to choose our next place? And she goes, I don't know, but it's time to go. I said, okay. How about we think about what's important for us? We want to be connected in a community. You want a city. I want like a smallish town. And we just want to feel a part of. Yeah. So, and it's not very fancy, it's not a sexy way to do it, but I said, you know what, I'm going to get my Google spreadsheet together. I'm going to get my little sheets.
You sound like a doctoral student.
Go figure that.
Put it
out my spreadsheet, and I said, okay, what cities have the qualities that we're looking for? Where do we feel like we find ourselves feeling a part of?
Yeah.
I said, there were a few cities on there, and I said, Des Moines keeps coming to the top. I wonder why. It's small, yet big enough. Leslie, what do you think? She goes, I think it could work. So she started applying places, and I'm along for the ride.
So how has your impression of Des Moines changed from what you researched to what you're living?
Oh, my goodness. What changed? The Greater Des Moines Partnership paints a very beautiful picture of the top 10 for economic growth and job placement and feeling like you're part of a community. When I got here and I started to drive around and I started to look at the Black and brown community, I started to look in people's faces and see some of the hurt. I started to see some of not only the cracks in the road, but the cracks in the foundation of a dream that was promised versus what actually hit. So me reading about all the opportunities and seeing communities, how they're affected, those are two completely different pictures of where the opportunities are lying or who has access to those. And I remember speaking with a local director who's a nonprofit leader here, and I said, you know what, I wasn't sad, but I felt the spirit of sadness. I felt like wherever I go, I have my people. So wherever I move, I'm like, oh my goodness, those are my people, because I'm with you in that struggle at that time. And I told her, I said, I'm hurting because my people are hurting. Me, myself, I'm not sad. I can find something. But I said it was just too strong for me to see the dissonance between what's being portrayed versus what actually is. Right. But it solidified what I wanted to do even more, which was to still get involved and to help out with getting people resources or getting people connected or feeling, that they're a part of.
That's, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's kind of been a theme with all of the people that I've talked to, I've had Marlou and Deanna Langford on the show, and it's been what motivates them too, that there is, it's almost like the two sides of Des Moines. There's the side that the media likes to show, oh, you know, the top 10 city for young families and young professionals,
Right.
and blah blah blah, and it makes it seem like, you know, these fields of opportunity, but who, as you said, who has access to them? It's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm.
And I know every time I read one of those lists, I go, who put that out? Oh, because it's really important to know who is putting Des Moines on their lists, because 90% of the time there's some connection to politics. There's
Right.
some connection to an industry that's trying to make money from Iowa and Iowans. And so, yeah, I always see those lists, and instead of being like, ooh, look at Des Moines, I think, who's really benefiting from that? So I've just seen that pattern among a lot of women of color, especially those of us who are movers and shakers and involved, that
Right.
we're not really drinking that Kool-Aid.
No, and it, I just felt stuck in a way, and stuck in between my newness and my passion to just get out there and go.
Yeah.
I'm one of those get out there and go people, but I'm just like, you know what? I gotta do it a little bit different this time. Why? Because I knew at the place that we had just moved from, we weren't going to be there long, so I was able to, you know, move fast and help them with their change initiatives and all the things. But I'm just like, here, I'm ready to put some roots down. You know, I want to show that not only I can be involved and I can care and I can show that I care, but I want my people, our people, the city of Des Moines, to know that I'm here, and that I see them. A lot of people worry about being seen, or feeling like it's like, okay, yeah, people see the struggle, but they don't care about me, or I'm just another person on the street walking. I want to be at a point where people go, oh my gosh, it's Destinee, and they stop, and we just have a conversation, just like I'm having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Or just to have that point of contact. People, oh, they eat it up, they love it, they crave it.
Yeah. That is something that was very odd to me when I moved here from Chicago, was how much people just start talking to you. I mean, the way that you met Catherine in the bathroom. I got to Iowa to go to college, and I got to campus, and especially people of color, they would see me and they'd be like, hey, how are you? And I wouldn't say anything, because growing up in Chicago, you don't talk to strangers, because anybody who talks to you and doesn't know you is probably going to ask for money. So you're just kind of like, oh.
Wow.
And so I got this reputation as, like, you know, that mean Spanish girl, because I never talked to people. I never, you know. And then I just started observing and noticing that that's just what they did here. And they weren't after anything other than wanting to be seen, because in a predominantly white institution, you know, you could go hours without seeing a person who looked like you. So when you did, you wanted them to know, hey, I see you. Nobody else might. And it took me a while to figure that out, because it just wasn't on my radar. And being young, I mean, I got here, I was 17. I didn't, you know much. And so, but now I find that endearing. And I especially love when I go somewhere and I see an older person in the community. You know, I want to say, hi, how are you? And let them know that as a younger person, as a fellow person of color in this predominantly white state, I see you, and I appreciate that you're here, that you're not alone. That is one thing that I will say for Iowa that I like, because I go to other cities and I have to stop myself, because I'm like, oh no, there's tons of other people of color here. They don't have to say hi to each other. But, you know, that's definitely an Iowa thing that I've noticed.
Wow. Well, that's very beautiful. But then, you know, as a person of color, I also have this intersecting identity. I'm also a member of the LGBTQ community. So for me, those intersections have been quite the one to navigate. And I went to this Illuminating Intersections panel that was put on by One Iowa, Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition, and I think there's a third, NAACP, I think, jumped aboard, which is awesome. And the panelists were talking about their experiences being a person of color, and also an LGBTQ person of color, and putting a whole nother lens on it here in Des Moines. And I think about that, and thinking about the conversations about what's going on is, are we doing a good job of not only showing that we're visible, but do people know where to go, or do people feel comfortable enough to be? And I think a lot of that is a goal, right? You know, there are so many nonprofits here in Des Moines. There's so many nonprofits here in this state.
A ton. I think it's like the highest number of nonprofits in the country, or some crazy number. Yeah, it's a ton.
Right.
Every idea in Iowa turns into a nonprofit.
I love that. Don't give me any ideas. Don't give me any. I have plenty. I need to be able to finish school first, you know. Just putting that seed out there. But I was thinking about how many nonprofits there are and how many community organizations there are, and people still feeling like, yeah, I don't know if it's for me. I don't know about that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it going to take? What are we going to do? You know, are people looking at the podcast?
Looking at you, no.
Right? Are people taking advantage of what they have? And if they're not, you know, what's some of their story? What are some of their stories? What are some of the reasons? But I think that people sharing their experiences on this show, Christina Speaks, I think is huge. Just sharing the local voices, and I think that'll encourage people to say, okay, I am a part of the conversation. But I think we can.
And you mentioned the coalition, and what has your experience so far been with them? I know they're pretty new.
Very new. Few months
what
old.
Are some
it's a
of
baby.
Yeah, they're like in their infancy. But but they were involved in this the forum that you mentioned. So what else do they have planned, or what else are you going to be involved in with the coalition?
Well, right now we're working on the results of the survey that they put out.
Did they have a good number of responses? Do you know?
I do. I'm not exactly at liberty to say how many responses we had at this time, but we had a decent amount.
Oh, good.
Me as a researcher, and you know, some others that are just like, yeah, we could always go for more.
Well, yeah, that's always any survey, I think, you know. But
you know,
that's
I
good
think
that you've got something to work with.
Got something to work with, and we're looking forward to putting those results out, and you know, showcasing where some of the needs are. And the purpose of the survey was to just figure out the direction of the Iowa queer communities of color, which we are also accepting applications for members. So if anybody is interested in serving on the Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition, you can holler on out. And also, we're just really looking to the survey results to help guide us in this venture. But you know, the first event, or one of the first events we had, was the local Pride show, where I said, okay, we need somebody to MC. We need 2 MCs. Somebody can't do it. I said, oh my gosh. Well, how many days we got? There's only but 2. And so I said, okay, I have no problem with crowds and public speaking. Let's do this thing. And it was the very first Pride show of its nature locally. And I thought it was huge. I thought it was huge to just get started and to share the space. And so that's an event we're really proud of. But we'll be looking forward to the survey results, and we should have those at the end. And so we'll be able to let you know what's up and coming and whatnot. But
awesome. And if you follow Pound Town Media, we will forward and promote anything that they have going on, so that if you want to get involved, you don't have to be of color, you don't have to be queer, you just have to want to get involved and have a heart for making the world a better place. Awesome. And so you mentioned that you did the Pride fashion show that was at the library. That was the first event, and then they did the forum.
Yes.
And so are there any other community events where community people can kind of come out and get to know more about the coalition that you know of that are coming up?
Nothing that I know of coming up. But we're pretty active out there on our Facebook page. But if anybody wants to figure out more or learn about more, then the Facebook page is actually pretty active. Okay. And great. So they'll know right away as soon as we know. Yeah. But we'll be working with that data for sure. Because one thing we didn't want to have happen was, okay, we're going to go in this direction, And the data tell us, no, we actually need to be way over here.
Right.
And so we're waiting for it to tell us, what the community members, what our people are saying.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to know, because I think there's a lot of organizations that can help. I mean, you don't have to be necessarily focusing on the queer community to still have services that are going to help with that initiative. Just like, as a Latina, I go to and I support and I work with other groups because we still habitate in this world together, and there's still so much crossing of lives and intersectionality. And so, that's one thing that I have found as a person of color, that people are like, oh, I would love to get involved, but I'm not Latino. And I'm like, but you're human, right? All right, so let's just go with that. We have that one thing in common. That's all we need. It always amazes me when people are like, oh, well, I want to get involved, but I don't speak Spanish. And I'm thinking in my head, are we having this conversation in Spanish? No. So then that means that you can get involved.
Oh, my goodness.
It's, but I think that it's just good to remind people that you don't have to be part of whatever the group is to have a heart for helping other people and to just want to do something good. And I think especially now, when if you hop on Facebook, there's so much negativity and so much hurt out there. And can you and I as two individuals stop what's happening on the border, or stop what's happening to the poor communities of the world? No. But can we make a little bit of a difference here? Maybe for one or two people, make their day better, their life better, their trajectory better. Yeah, that's what we need to focus on, because looking at the big picture will make you just kind of want to freeze up and not do anything. And so you mentioned that you're a doctoral student.
Yes.
And so you're currently doing a lot of writing, I understand.
Yeah, a lot is a bit of an understatement. I sleep and I write. I write in my sleep.
Oh, that's a good skill. I need to learn how to do that.
Or do you? Let me know how to stop doing that. It will be on a roll.
So what do you want to do once you become Dr. Woodris? What's your vision for that?
Oh, well, I originally wanted to be a doctoral student because I knew if I wanted to be eventually a VP in an educational setting, that was a credential I needed to have. I had the passion. I didn't have the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a disconnect there. But now that I'm getting involved in nonprofit, I kind of want to see where that takes me also. There are a few positions that are open right now for, leading some of these nonprofit organizations. I'm like, you know what? I think that's something I can do.
Well, I will tell you from experience, be careful. Once that nonprofit bug hits you, it's really hard to
strong.
Get away.
It's hard to get out.
It's like the travel bug. You just start, and then you just want to keep going and trying different types of nonprofits. So, but I wish you luck, because like you said, there are a ton here in Des Moines, and leadership for nonprofits is a great need. And from my experience, it's a great way to meet other people and to really feel like what you do matters.
Yes.
So if that's something that is important to you, you're in the right state for leading nonprofits, for sure.
It's important for me. It's important for me because, like I said, I see the need. And I also see the passion. And for me, I like to have fun. Now, I know not every day is fun and not everything is funny. But with Outlook, I find at least one joke a day.
Good.
Or I laugh at myself once a day. And I think if I can be in a workplace or help influence that environment to where people can say, you know what, we're going to take a step back, we're going to reflect, we're going to laugh a little, get back down to business, get back down to work, and, reconnect with why we're here. I think it's huge.
That's a good way to run a nonprofit. There's a lot of burnout, a lot of people that are wholly into it with their heart. Yeah. And, and it's tough to do that 10, 12 hours a day, and then to care for a family and all that comes with everything that happens outside of work. So that's a wonderful outlook to have if you're going to lead a nonprofit, because you have to kind of bring some levity, because some of those days can be pretty heavy.
Very. So. And, the people doing the work are people.
Right.
They're people first. Exactly. Before they were professionals, they got into it because their eyes were bright. Their eyes were bright, and they just wanted all the beautiful things. And when they had wanted all the beautiful things and they started to see the cracks in the road going, oh dear, oh my.
Right.
Things started to fall, and then all the beautiful things started to turn into gray skies.
Yeah.
And I feel that as a leader, one of your main jobs, one of your favorite things to do is to be able to help repaint that landscape for people when they start to get down. Yeah. And that's a side that I would like to be on, especially in a climate such as this, when I can feel part of the community down.
Right.
I think that it's a strength to work in intersectionality and figure out where they're distancing or where people come together. I think it's huge. There's so much that we can learn about that. There's so much we can learn with that.
Right.
And I think that's just something to be said. And I think it's very important that we come together at certain institutions. So while I might be a member of the Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition, there are so many interests I have. There are so many people that I still want to meet. There are so many people I just want to see in their element. There are so many structures. There are so many organizations I just want to say, man, that's cool. I want to see how they do that. Or, oh wow, I got to talk to so-and-so. They're doing cool stuff over there.
Yeah.
I have varying interests. Music, art, Avengers, Infinity War, all the things. I love it all. I'm an experiencer. I'll try it and let you know how I feel about it. I'll try it one good time and let you know. I'll say, ooh, girl, it was awesome. It was the bomb.com, or ooh, that hit my spirit wrong. You'll never have to wonder with me. And I think that's something that Des Moines needs right now.
So when you're taking on your writing and you're taking on, getting involved and looking for where you're going to put your talents next, how do you unwind and how do you keep yourself, laughing and some levity in your own life?
Okay, I have a few different ways. One, I have a Netflix account, and I use it.
Do you share it too? Are you one of those?
Well, I don't think we're allowed to say, are we? Just look into my eyes for the answer. But I think that I do take the time to unwind. But
Good.
There's a little book full of Fred Roger quotes that I read from time to time. Also, there's a book by RuPaul, Guru. I love to read. I love to just get out in nature and go walk.
Nice.
I like to just be by myself sometimes. But in the event that I just need to go ahead and get out, I'll say, okay, well, I'll just drive somewhere. I'll just walk around. I'll get lost somewhere. I'm not really lost. GPS is a beautiful thing, folks, if you have it. It's a beautiful thing. And so sometimes I'll just drive and see where I wind up. And for some people, I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to not know where you're going. But I love an adventure. The name of my first car was the Black Pearl because I love Pirates of the Caribbean and the Black Pearl.
Nice.
And it pretty much sums up how I roll. I just go.
And what have you discovered anything really cool that then you've gone back or taken Leslie back and been like, oh, I went on one of my drives and I found this really cool spot or anything?
Oh my gosh, let me think. Was there anything here? I think that I got lost one good time and wound up at a museum. And I was like, what is this museum even here for? Was it the Science Museum? I don't think it was the Science Museum. But like I said, I couldn't even tell you where I was. And I said, you know what? We'll be back. I had to think about it. My mind goes in so many different directions. But one place that I did stumble upon, which is an obvious thing because I'm not from here, but the Science Museum. I love going into museums and just seeing what everybody else is doing or what I can get involved in. I like active stuff. But when I said, hey, where's some place to go for Creole food? And you told me Fat Tuesdays. Shout out to Fat Tuesdays. Real talk. That was beautiful to me. I was like, wow, there's Ecuadorian food here. Like, not only places, but food. Things that you can do with people to help bring them together is powerful. But I think just running into people and finding out what all we could do together has just been some of my favorite things.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always ask people, what are your 5 favorite things about Des Moines as kind of their just to get to know them better. And Marlou said it was all food. And then, Deanna had some food, but she has some favorite people too. That was really neat. And history of Des Moines that she is really proud of. And so I will ask you the same, Destinee. And I know that you're still getting to know Des Moines, but so far it can be 5 favorite anything from places to people to, it can be, food, restaurants, lack of traffic, whatever. What are your 5 favorite things so far about Des Moines?
Okay. I'm going to say it. The lack of traffic. Now, I know there's a lot of people that might disagree and say, do we have traffic that on it? Weren't you on the expressway this morning? Yes, I was. And there was only a 2-minute delay. You can calm down. So I will say lack of traffic. And it's easy to just go anywhere you want to go. So lack of traffic, 1. 2, I like the diversity in food here. Where I was just previously, there were only so many places around, but here you can find some stuff. You can go on Yelp. You can make your little spreadsheet like me if you're that way, and figure out where you would like to go and rank them. I like who I've met here, the people who I've had one-on-ones with. You being one. Of just having real conversations has been huge. I'm finding out more about myself here in terms of not only what I could be doing for the community, but what the community, what they don't know is what they're doing for me by just existing and living authentically in life. I think that is huge. So that's 3 for me, is just the community showing me realness. 4, gosh, it's tough because those first 3 are strong. 4, what's the 4th one? 4th one, okay. Oh, my wife. So, she's a mental health counselor, and every time I see her, I pick her up from work, she looks tired, but she doesn't look defeated. I'm going to say it again. She's tired, but she doesn't look defeated. She loves what she does. And for me, that's huge. As a person who, I'm like a family cheerleader. I love everything about my family in terms of how the story of us, the story of the struggles, the stories of things that didn't go right, the things that did go right. And just to see her happy is huge for me. She's so happy. In 5, we found an apartment in the middle of, actually towards the beginning of the polar vortex. We had an apartment. We didn't know where we were going to stay. She was freaking out. I was freaking out. And I said, oh my gosh, where are we going to live? And I said, okay, we have a place to live. So there are my top 5.
Oh, hey, that's awesome. You made it through your fave 5.
Made it. It's tough. It could have been tough.
And what about Leslie? What does she really like about Des Moines?
Lack of traffic. When I had this conversation with her just yesterday, I said, what do you like about Des Moines so far? She was like, well, Des, I didn't think that I would like being in Des Moines, honestly. Mm-hmm. But it has big city, it has smaller city, and I know you like those, Des. I know you like those. But it has a mixture. It feels like us. It's the best of what we want from each of us. Des Moines has it.
Wow, that's awesome to hear.
Yes. That's so great. I know some people have some views that are polar opposite of what I'm saying, but realness, we respect it. And another thing that Leslie loves. What else? We love Video Warehouse. We just love being able to walk in there. Oh my gosh, if you have not been. Ooh, there's so many movies. There's so many. I think they said they had over 20,000 titles. We love going to movies. Yes. Shout out to Video Warehouse. And what else? Let's see. Okay, so she did get into a car accident today. So I'll bring this up. This turns into a good story, kind of. The woman who backed into her, she was like, oh my gosh, are you going to be all right? How are you going to get to work tomorrow? She cared. That was the first time I had ever heard of anybody caring about who they hit or how they got hit or them not trying to blame the other person. She genuinely cared. So it was very hard to stay upset. Now, there was an inconvenience. So I walked in here, oh, child, I can't. But the lady's reaction to hitting Leslie and feeling like, oh, my gosh, how are you? Are you okay? Mm-hmm. That was huge. And that was further solidification that we're in the place. We're down a vehicle for now. But it's still confirmation that in how she responded and how Leslie was able to respond, that's huge.
Yeah, wow. That's good. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I love learning more about other people and what you like about Des Moines, and that restaurant scene keeps coming up. So and that's one of my favorite things too. So if you guys ever want to go somewhere and try a new restaurant or new to you guys, and you just like, hey, you want to go try some whatever type of food, I've never tried it before or whatever.
Oh, I'll hit you up,
because that's one of my favorite things about Des Moines too, is eating my way through.
Where should we go next?
Ooh, if you're into Indian, Pakistani, I'd say Lazaza.
That's Leslie's jam.
Okay, then we've got to go to Lazaza on 23rd and Forest. Some of the best Indian food in Des Moines. And their chai, oh my God,
I love chai.
To die for.
Come through now.
So good.
I love chai. Also, you didn't ask favorite colors or the cliche thing, so I'll give you one cliche thing. My favorite color is metallic peach.
Oh, that's different.
Right? Huh. I loved it. My childhood bedroom was that color for about a year or two. Huh. It had to get repainted, but I had it and it was with me.
Are you gonna paint something in your new apartment that color?
Ooh, we'll see what's on the lease. We'll see what's on there. We'll see if there's anything. But I think it should be all right if we paint it back. Theoretically. Yeah, something.
Well, funny story. I like peach color, and so when we first bought our house, I wanted the room to be peach, and then one wall to be like a purple burgundy color. Mm. Well, it ended up being like a corally pink, and the purple looked like a burgundy red. Wow. And I remember my husband walked in, and he's like, "Oh, looks like a brothel in here." And I was like, "How do you know what a brothel looks like?" He's like, that's what I think it would look like. I'm like, so when you say peach, I think about my attempts at peach and how it didn't go so well.
In a brothel.
Yeah.
We're talking about brothels in here. Speaking of which, have you seen the show on Hulu? It's called Harlots.
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness. It's about England and these two rival brothels that are trying to duke it out and see who can get the most clientele.
It actually sounds pretty amazing.
Uh-huh. Hulu.
Sounds like a lot of entertainment. I'll have to check that out. I love Hulu, so
hysterical.
I'll have to check Harlots out. Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been so much fun, Destinee. Thank you for tuning in to Christina Speaks and getting to know my guest, Destinee Woodris. And please continue to watch for different guests coming up. Also, the links to the different organizations that Leslie mentioned are included in the podcast, so you can click on those and get involved. Thank you.